Hey folks, how you doing? Let's see if this, where's that gone from? There we go, that's me. Let's see if I can find this. Let's just adjust that a little bit. Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. I think that's better. How's everybody doing today? It's Saturday afternoon. It's actually a stunning day in Wellington. It's really lovely and warm. I just sort of jump on here. I'm going to do some prep work for tonight. I'm playing at the Wellington Jazz Festival. I've got a concert. We're going to play one of my albums, Refraction. And I thought I'll just jump on here and just do a live stream, kind of show my prep. Play some tunes. Last night's gig was slamming. Man, the band sounded so good. Like the double drum, had the double drummer thing, so 2 drummers, organ and guitar. I turned that up a little bit, and the boys just kind of threw down last night. It was like, wow. Sound was kind of weird for me on stage, which always makes it hard to kind of play. You know, you've got I set up on the opposite side of the stage I normally do, and I don't like it as much, to be honest. Struggle to hear things. There was a pillar kind of right where I want to see the audience, all those kind of things that you get used to. But man, what a gig. Probably one of the more successful double drummer gigs we've ever done. So yeah, we're playing at the Capel Blues Club tonight, downstairs in the basement. We're going to play my album Refractions, beginning to end. Just kind of working on some of those tunes. They're kind of tricky. There's one of my tunes, Shuffle-Up-A-Guess, which Snuffle-Up-A-Guess from Sesame Street, if you'll remember that, which I remember as a kid. Snuffle-Up-A-Guess, and we played a shuffle, so that's how that kind of came about. But it goes... Eight-bar blues. Oh, I better plug my phone in. It's about to go flat. Give me 1 second, people. I'm getting the notification. 1 second. Well, hopefully I didn't screw anything up by doing that. I got you're on 10% battery or something, and looking at my phone, it's actually a bit lower than that. There we go, that's better. So yeah, the thing is that there's something about that 8-bar form that kind of screws with things a little bit. We're so used to blues being 12 bars, right? That, you know, if you have this form, 1, 2, 3, back to the 1 chord. Oh, cheers, Leon. How are you, buddy? But then it has all these twisted kind of chord things in it, you know. Jet lagged, where have you been? Been away. Yeah, so it's kind of fun to. I've been working on that one, and there's a couple of sort of funky tunes in there, and I was kind of working on the groove with them today. There's one that's like a swung 16th thing that goes. Oh, you've been away in the States. Awesome. It's always nice when you get home, isn't it, after you've been away for a trip like that. I always enjoy it. So, Leon says, exercises for developing that relaxed swing, jazz swing feel. Good question. Good question, my man. I think the big one that a lot of people struggle with is getting to feel 2 and 4. Because one big difference from playing like funk kind of grooves, although a groove like that with swung 16ths is still... it still felt 2 and 4, but a lot of stuff, a lot of rock stuff particularly, is felt like it's felt 1 and 3. Something like this, for example. Dun, 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 dun. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're feeling like that kind of downbeat pulse. Whereas with jazz stuff, the key to it, I think, is getting to play that 2 and to really internally feel that 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And the thing I find is that what a lot of people do when they're trying to work on their swing feel is they tend to rush the beat. They kind of get up on it too much. And the thing is, it kind of wants to sit like on this back way of it. And the way I do it and the way I think about that is thinking like triplets. At that tempo. It changes when you play fast, of course. You know, when you play slow tempo swing, that's kind of what you do. So in my head, I'm thinking. So put metronome on, put it on 2 and 4, and just really get to try and feel that triplet-y thing and making that, to me, that's kind of what makes it swing. Now, when it gets faster, everything changes. Play a tempo like... Knew I should have warmed up before I did this. Those sort of tempos, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's getting fast, right? When I get into those faster tempos, you tend to straighten out the swing. It becomes less triplet-y. I want to see if I can find a metronome. Where's my metronome in here? It's bound to be one on my iPad. Oh, there we go. So tempo like 120. Come on. It's sitting on 121 and it doesn't want to change. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Right, so a lot of players kind of from rock backgrounds, and particularly like some blues players and stuff, will think of this as 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The way you want to do it, if you're working on 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So what you do, you probably all know this, put your metronome on half that, so that'll be 60. Alright, and you're not feeling it as 1 and 3, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course you want to be able to swing and do that too. Right, you still want to be able to do that, but we want to feel that as 2 and 4. So the easy way to get started, if you haven't done this before, is go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm on 1 and 3, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. And don't rush it. That was me being very naughty. That's the kind of thing that you would do, that you derail the band and you start getting really broken like that. I'm still feeling it as 2 and 4, but I put the chord down on beat 4. And if you do that, you're playing in a band and someone will hear that as beat 1, and then all of a sudden it's like, it was naughty. But that's me. So yeah, and then play a whole lot of a lot of music and sorts of stuff out. So I'm gonna play a tune. Let's play All the Things You Are. This is a jazz standard classic. I like this tune because it's got a lot of chord changes, and it's kind of goes through all these keys. So it's like 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, then moves up a step, right? And then that becomes the new key: 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 2, 5, 1, and a new key, 2, 5, 1, and a new key, 2, 5, 1, and a new key, E major. And E major is a pig of a key, right? For jazz tunes, especially for horn players. So yeah, this is All the Things You Are. As my friend Lee would say, all the things you are, unfortunately. Another thing too I should talk about is articulation. So when you play, if you play everything, but if you go, I'm still playing straight 8s, but by accenting every offbeat, it sort of feels like it's got a bit of a swing about it. And that's kind of what I do when I play funk grooves, is I often put that offbeat accent to give it that sort of slight swing feel-ish about it. But it's not really a swing thing. But that can go a long way if you articulate that way by thinking offbeats. Yeah, anyway, that's all things. Hopefully you can hear it okay. Man, I hardly ever get to play standards these days. It's quite fun actually when I do. This is about as opposite to last night's gig as possible. Pretty much played overdrive like heavy all night. Yeah, so that's all the things you are, unfortunately. I hardly ever play standards these days. It's kind of a funny thing. I used to do standards gigs, but I just don't really do much of them anymore. I kind of most of my things now are kind of like fusiony type things these days. Which to be honest, I kind of prefer. I'm not sick of standards. I work on them to practice for practice stuff, but now I'm kind of like I don't really want to be known as a standards player. I don't really see that as my voice or my music. Like, I mean, I like people like Scott Henderson just as much as I like John Schofield and Pat Metheny. So it's like, and then someone like Michael Landau, absolutely kills me every time I hear him. I've heard him 3 times now in Los Angeles, and it's just like ridiculous. I mean, unfathomably, is that the word I'm trying to think of? Ridiculous. He's so great. And, every time I hear him play, I go away with all these new ideas and a reminder of how important like touch and time and dynamics are. He's one of the most dynamic players I've ever heard. Like it'll be whisper quiet and the next minute it's like the roof is gonna fall in. They're just blowing the roof off the place, But one of the best I've ever seen him though was at the Baked Potato, I have to say. You could tell they were super comfortable there. Question. How did you work on the Schofield Metheny legato articulation? Is there any strategically assigned picking notes and the hammer-on pull-offs? Yeah. So I kind of always leaned more towards that sort of way of playing rather than the picking every note. I liked Pat Martino, who kind of picked every note, but to me it's like the Sco Metheny thing of. That sort of way felt more like how a horn player plays, and I was kind of more interested in that than actually like trying to articulate every note. When I play jazz stuff, when I play rock stuff, I tend to articulate every note because, or even funk stuff too, I'll articulate every note because that's a different sort of thing, generally speaking. I mean, one of the best things I found for working on your legato playing is just, so we're in G major. Just run up the G major scale, 3 notes per string, and then back down. Feel sloppy, I haven't warmed up today. And I find the thing with it, like that you want to do with that sort of stuff is try and get all the notes even. Yeah, so that's a good exercise, and then just put a track on and just practice playing 8th notes over the whole thing. So something like All the Things You Are. And just being able to sort of articulate when necessary. I found like a heap of patterns that kind of work is like trying to say accenting the first note and then the 4th note, which would give you a dotted 8th quarter note. Yeah, so it would essentially give you this. Right, but do that. You know what I mean? When you're playing through a phrase or something like that, those sort of things can help. Yeah, I mean, because really what you want with that stuff, I think, is to have control. That to me is what it's all about. That you can articulate wherever you particularly want to. So, come up with exercises for yourself and see, can you articulate in this kind of way? Can you articulate in this kind of way? And that'll be different for everybody because whatever level you're playing is it with that stuff. Yeah. Sco and Metheny both do it quite differently though. Leon says the halftime metronome thing is awesome for rock stuff too. I use it a lot. This is awesome. Yeah, I totally agree too. I mean, the thing I do with the metronome too for rock stuff is not only halftime but quarter time. So you've got one click per bar, and then try playing something and just going, right, can I play that riff? You know, with all 4 beats clicking, with just 2 beats clicking, with just 1 clicking, but have that click not necessarily be on beat 1, right? So I'll give you an example. Here's something. I need my metronome again. What tempo am I going to do? 60, 80, 40. Let's do that. 160. Hopefully you can hear that. Right. Go with that groove, right? Let's half that down to 80. Right, and then let's half that down to 40. Right, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was the click on 4. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just the click on 3, you know what I mean? And the more different places you can feel it, the more you're internalizing it, the better your groove and rhythm is going to be. It's an interesting thing too. I notice when I'm tired or when I'm physically feeling wiped out, like sore, like my arm feels a little sore today. You know, we had a late night last night after the gig. You know, I stuck around and watched the band that was on after us, and they were really good. And by then I was just feeling shattered. I found a couch in the corner of the bar, sat down with a drink by myself, and just had some quiet time listening to the band. And I was feeling knackered. And then by the time I got home, I was, you know, still wired from this like crazy gig where the band was just going off. And so because the band was so slamming last night, damn, it was good. It was one of the best double drum gigs we've ever done, I think. And so I got home and I was like wired still, and then by the time I got to sleep, so I woke up this morning and I was like, my arm just feels like everything feels tight and sore, and you know, it's one of those things. Daniel says, what would you say is the most important scales to learn in order of importance? Okay, this is going to be a bit of a controversial hot take. Because if you know me by now, you know I like to do this. Most guitar players learn pentatonic, so I'm going to assume you probably know that first. And it probably is the most important scale to start with. But I'd say it's not the best scale to start with. I think most musicians should learn the major scale first and foremost. Hear me out. The reason that I think that the major scale is better than pentatonic to kind of spend your time starting with is it's fundamental to everything in music. The music we do. Oh, whoops. What's going on there? It's looking a bit odd. Must have bumped. What's going on? My phone's sliding out of the holder. Yeah. Come on. Don't be a nuisance. Hopefully that looks better. It's like major scale is fundamental to all of the theory, everything we do with the music. So it's like, to me, it's the most important. And also, it sounds right against all the chords, right? So if I have a C major chord, there's really only one note in there that's kind of not the best to play against it. So this note will resonate well with this. So will this. So will this. It's only really the fourth that can get a little funky. wants to go there, doesn't it? And then 5th is fine. All of those work, right? But if you think about pentatonic, the way we're really using it is like over a sharp 9 chord. So we've got this pentatonic, like that's kind of the sound, right? Where it comes from. It's like the sharp 9 thing. So it's like a tension sound. And I find that's not necessarily the best place for people to start. Like you're trying to tell them from the beginning to hear something that kind of clashes in a way. Now we're so used to hearing that clash because it's like fundamental to blues and rock music, right? But it's not necessarily the best place to start. I think start with major scale and try and make that work, and then everything else can build off that. That's a really good thing. So I think major scale, I think, of course, you've probably already done pentatonic, so that's good. I think Dorian mode is a really good one to know because it's kind of like your main kind of minor scale that'll pop up, or Aeolian, either one of those two. You can play a lot of music with just major, Dorian, and pentatonic, and you're probably going to sound pretty good. After that, I'd probably say I really like Lydian. I think Lydian to me is a more useful sound than major. Although I do play major, like if that's the right sound to play, that's what I play. But and it harkens back to that thing I was saying before about 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th degree over a major chord, kind of clashing. And the reason it clashes a little bit is because one of the most important notes of any chord is the 3rd. So when you have a note, the 4th, it clashes with the 3rd, right? And that is where if we have that sharp 11 thing like Lydian, we're now a tone away from the 3rd. And it's funny, when I get students to play the major scale, I'll get them to play it, and it's almost without question, they all go. And they play that raised 4th, just happen to do that. Right? Because it doesn't clash, especially if I play the chord and I get them to play the scale over it. Their ear will tell them that note sounds more correct against it. Yeah. Cool. Hope that helps. Evolutionary Sleeper says, for visualizing the neck for playing over changes, do you usually think in intervals? Yes, I do. Judged by fret distance compared to the root notes, same for every shape. Yeah, I think in both note names, I think in intervals, and then sometimes I just don't think at all. Which is, you just kind of follow your ear and go with that. So I do all of those things, especially when I practice. More so when I'm playing like on a gig or something, I try not to think too much. When I'm on a gig, it's like right now it's business time. All the homework's done. So when I'm on the gig, I'm like thinking like, what's the audience want? What am I trying to portray here? What am I trying to say? I've done the work, so I'm ready to go. And yeah, that's kind of how it looks at. Do you think purely in note names without referencing the distance shapes back to the root? I always think in reference to the root, but I always think in note names as well. I find that note names are like really useful because I prefer intervals over note names, actually, to be honest, because then now we've got a relationship to the root note. For example, if we're in C, an E note on its own doesn't really tell much, but if I tell you now that's the 3rd, you can now not only know its importance, but its relationship to the root note in terms of color and all those sort of factors. So I prefer to think intervals, but I do think note names too when it comes to pro stuff. Like I'm playing with an orchestra next week on Saturday. I'm going to Christchurch, and if I was to talk in any other terms other than E, D, F sharp, these sorts of note names, nobody's gonna know what the hell I'm talking about, right? Even intervals, classical musicians are like, they won't even necessarily know that something's a 3rd. They will, but they're more likely if I say, oh, is that E note the right note? That's kind of the language we're going to be talking, so. Yeah. Oh man, I wish I had some gigs coming up in Auckland. I haven't played in Auckland for a while, actually. I did get in touch with CJC about doing something this year, but they were fully booked out just because I haven't played in Auckland for so long. I don't tend to go up to Auckland much these days. Yeah, there is a show I've been offered in Christchurch, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get the gig in Wellington. But knowing the orchestra here, they'll leave it till 3 weeks out and then contact me as they usually do. But the Christchurch Symphony's already been in touch and said would I come down and do their gig. So I'm hoping that'll work out. So if I can do the Auckland one as well, do Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, would just make a lot of sense. I imagine the APO will want to use someone local because it's cheaper. Yeah. Oh, you played CJC a few weeks ago. Nice. I love CJC. It's one of my favourites. Definitely my favourite Auckland venue for sure, because Roger Mannins is an old friend. He played on my Refractions album, which is the album we're performing tonight. I'd really like to have brought Rog down to come and play the gig, but he's away in Europe at the moment on some gigs. So I've got Frank Talbot coming down. He'll be awesome. Yeah. So we're playing that album beginning to end. Roger's a legend, isn't he? I remember when we recorded that album, he said to the sound engineer, do you mind if I take a few steps back from the microphone? And so they had a ribbon mic, a figure 8 pattern ribbon mic. And we were all in the same room. Drums were there, but they put up a little screen around the drums, like in terms of like just a wall, maybe about 6 feet high, and just on one side of the drums. And then put the bass tucked in next to that. And then I was in the room and Roger was in the room. And he took like a step back, and by then he's like this far from the mic. And I'm thinking, okay, still mostly be saxophone, and then maybe there'll be a bit of leakage, whatever. And then he said to the sound engineer, can I take another step back? By then he's like this far back from the mic. And I remember like thinking, there's going to be heaps of drums in that now, right? Surely. And in the end, he was actually about 6 or 7 feet away from the microphone when we recorded it. And all you can hear is him. Like there's barely any drums, because his sound just goes like that. It's so powerful that, yeah, it just worked. And the other thing too is Roger's known as an improviser, I mean, he spent a lot of time in New York kind of honing his craft, doing his thing, and then but he's a hell of a reader too. I remember the first gig we did at CJC playing that album stuff, the material. There was no rehearsal because he couldn't make the rehearsal, so rehearsal the rhythm section. He just came in and sight read it, and I think I heard one wrong note the entire night. It's amazing. It was like, man. Just, and he was confident that he would be able to do that, but my stuff's not that easy. There's always twists and turns and corners, and some charts aren't necessarily that well written, because you're kind of workshopping material and what have you. So, yeah, I'd love to come up to Auckland. My buddy Warren Mendonza and I have been talking about doing something up there for a while. Maybe like a Ponsonby social club or something like that. So if anyone has any inroads, let me know. I'd love to come up and do it. And I don't really care about making any money on it. I just want to come up and play. Maybe, yeah, Warren and me and Warren in a rhythm section would be awesome. Like we did in, we did the Manawatu Jazz Festival, Warren and I, 2 guitars and a rhythm section, and it was so much fun. And play another tune. Let's find something. I really like the Telecaster. There's just something about a Tele that just is such a simple. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, maybe I could do like if I'm going to come up there and do some gigs, maybe I come up and just like book a little space and do some lessons, or do like a little workshop thing would be fun to do. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing some mods on this guitar and having threaded inserts put in so that I can take the neck on and off like Julian Lage does, because I'm going to be at the NAMM show in January next year. So if anyone's in LA and you're at the NAMM show, let me know. Let's hang out, and it'd be nice to meet up with people. But I thought I'll take this guitar and then I can take the neck off, and that could be fun. I was tempted to do it to this guitar, but I find that the Strat is not necessarily as versatile as a Tele, and also with a tremolo, even though it's largely fixed down. Yeah, the Tele makes more sense. Or maybe even my Talman. I was actually considering doing it with that guitar, because that'd be cool. Anyway, here's a track. This is Funk Fusion Guitar backing track in G minor. Don't know what it is, just gonna go for it.
So that's by Jammin' Backing Tracks. Kind of a fun track, it's got some nice stuff in it. I just love the tally neck pickup. I know some people don't like the tally neck pickup. I dig it. Oh, stop. I dig it because to me it's like it's the fattest sound, but it's still pretty clear. It's interesting, this guitar has 11s on it. I've kind of gone down to 10s on a lot of my guitars now. Pain in my arm, which I later figured out was just because of the angle I was playing. The other guitar player was right here, and I was kind of having to play like this to stop banging into him. And do that for a length of time, and your arm gets sore. But kind of since I went down to 10s, I've kind of getting used to it now. But slowly swapping them over. So this guitar still has 11s on it, so I need to swap this to 10s. But I felt it there. I was like, notice slightly under bending and stuff. Hey Joe Shu, how you doing? Yeah, so when I go to LA, I think I'll take this guitar. Or my Talman. Kind of tempted on that. I might just grab the Talman. Hold fire, 1 second. Right, yeah, I've been tempted to do it actually with this guitar, and this guitar would make a lot of sense. for a travel guitar. A couple of reasons. Let me just tune it. Can't stand out of tune guitars. Couple of reasons this would make a lot of sense. It's got the tummy tuck and the arm tuck, so it's super comfortable. It's nice and light. It's not a heavy guitar. But most importantly, I can do a lot of different things with this one guitar. So if I go to like a sound like, here's a clean tone. Get a jazz tone, right? But then I'm also on that pickup. Can do that sort of thing really well. Does bridge pickup rock really well. Yeah, so you can actually do a lot of different things on this one guitar. Has locking tuners, which I think could be handy if you're going to be taking the neck on and off maybe. Yeah, so I've been tempted to do it to this. What do you guys reckon? The Tele or this one for doing the threaded insert neck bolt, turning it into a travel guitar? So one of the tunes we're going to play tonight is a tune of mine called New Orleans on a Long Lead. And it was actually, funny enough, I was playing at CJC in Auckland. And John Fenton, who's like a regular there, he's like one of the guys who writes the reviews, takes photos and does stuff. And John said, kind of reminded him of New Orleans on a Long Lead. So that was the name. Yeah, I know what you mean. Evolutionary Sleeper says, I'm always scared to remove the necks from guitars. Probably will never do it, to be honest. Yeah, I'm the same. I don't ever take them off. But I kind of want a travel guitar. And the thing is, we're going Los Angeles for a week, and then we're going to go up to Alaska. Somewhere I've never been, going to go and visit a friend. And so I don't really want to put my guitar in the hold on a plane to going to Alaska in the middle of winter there. It'd be damn freezing. It's probably like going to stuff your guitar. Or it's just a big risk, if it even turns up at all. I find when you do these kind of longer haul flights and you do a lot of connecting flights, that's when guitars get lost, right? For some reason, someone didn't take it off the plane, it didn't make it onto the next one or whatever. So I really want to be able to carry something on the plane this time. And it's such a mission that I'm just so sick of like battling with people at airports about it now. So we can take the neck off and back on. And the thing is, if you put threaded inserts in your neck, it's basically bolts going into metal. It's not going to wear out. Because that's the thing, if you're going into wood, the wood will just eventually thread out and you've got no thing. But if you do threaded inserts in there and, epoxy them in, and then put machine screws so that it's actually like holding it in place, you can take it on and off as many times as you want. Generally I find with guitars too is when you get to places like the US, you need to adjust your guitar to some degree anyway. It's not necessarily going to be too your truss rod and all that kind of stuff. So I never used to do that. Never used to mess with the truss rod. Nowadays I just get in there and wrench it. It's a tune of mine that we're going to play tonight. So Julian Lage does it. And the thing is, once you take the neck off, you put your neck inside some kind of plastic tube. If you go to an art store, you can get those tubes that for sort of, you need one that long with caps on it. And then your neck's going to be solid. And then you put the body, wrap it in a towel and put it in a backpack. And so you put both things in a backpack and then you just chuck it up the top or under your seat. So it seems a really good way to kind of do international travel, I think. All instruments should be allowed on board with passengers should be the law. I totally agree. It's such a pain in the ass. I remember, I've given up on trying to battle with that because it's just stressful. When we move to the UK, I actually carried my guitar on the plane for the first time in years. But that was mostly because we were moving over there and I didn't want to be dealing with a flight case, with it around. This would have been impossible. So I have one of those SKB I-Series cases. I don't know if you guys know those ones. But it's actually it's a gig bag, but it's got like a hard shell inside it. I don't know what it's made of, some kind of plastic or polystyrene kind of layer. It's like really hard. It's way better than the mono cases in terms of like the crush resistance, right? So I figured if I get caught stuck and then I can't actually take it on board, if it checks in the hold, it'll survive. And I actually took this guitar with us, because it made sense. I can do a lot of different things on this. But even then I had to, we did Australia first. We did a month around Australia, and we went to Sydney for a week, and then we drove from Sydney to Melbourne down that coast, which was lovely, really nice with my family. Then we had a week in Melbourne, and then we flew to Perth, and we did a week in Perth. I've got family in Perth, and then my uncle's there, and then my wife's brother is in Melbourne and her cousin is in Sydney, so we did that kind of trip, right, for about a month before going to the UK. So yeah, it was just a mission, but if you could take the neck off, it would just make things so much easier. And and then you carry it on board with a backpack, and then at least it's going to arrive, because that's the big thing. It's not like the value of it so much. I mean, yeah, it would suck, but if you lost it, but if I lost this guitar, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. I could play any one of these other instruments I got and I'll just make it do. More the issue for me is getting to the gig and not having your blimmin' guitar, and then you're like, what are you going to do? Especially if you just fly in, maybe straight to rehearsal, and turn up to rehearsal without your guitar. Sucks. So yeah, you should be able to carry it on board. And it was interesting with Qantas in Perth, the woman on there was like, no, you can't carry it on board. It won't fit. And I said to her, well, I just got off a flight from Melbourne to here, and it literally fit in the exact same plane. And she said, no, you can't carry it on because we have a policy of only one bag. Right, well, a minute ago it wasn't going to fit, and now you're not changing the things. And she said, well, it's my choice. And I said, well, what about this person right behind me who has someone had this massive big roller bag, a backpack, her purse, and then back there was someone else with a ukulele plus all kinds of, and I'm like, come on. And she kicked, so I made a fuss. I'm like, I'm not backing down on this. So kind of knew I wasn't going to check it in that instance. She eventually said she gave in because I kind of put her on the spot. They were grumpy because their flight coming in was late, which delayed our flight, and then she was just taking it out on me, unfortunately. And so she said, oh, you can carry it on, but from there, she said, when you get on the plane, ask the attendants if it'll fit, and then if it doesn't, you have to take it back off and check it in. I was like, okay, sure. I got on the plane. I didn't ask anybody. There's no way I was ever going to. And I put it up the top, and it fit perfectly fine. The bin was, huge. Put it in there, and there was still heaps of room. I even took a photo of it in there, to show just how much room was on either side, and I actually sent it to the CEO of Qantas. I found it in the in-flight magazine, found the person's name and sent them a photo, told the story about this, never heard back. But you should be allowed to carry your guitar on it, totally. Now, some people are a bit ridiculous. You know, if you take a double gig bag and you expect to carry that on, it's like, come on, that's a bit different. If you take an acoustic guitar, that's a bit different. But a regular electric guitar in a gig bag, you know, not a big gig bag, you should be allowed to carry it on. Come on. Now, different with if it's a very small plane, but you know, any kind of larger international travel. One of the big problems too is from Wellington, there's not that many international flights. Like all the flights we do here, you pretty much fly Wellington to Auckland, and then you get on a bigger plane to Auckland to go. And so the issue is you've got to get from Wellington to Auckland first. And that tends to be the bigger issue. You don't want to obviously have to check your guitar in at that point from Wellington to Auckland, because then it's going to check all the way through, right? So yeah, getting it on that domestic flight can be one of the big issues. Any questions? I'm going to have to wrap up in a minute, folks. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go and get organised. Looking forward to playing tonight. Should be fun. I'm going to go and do an hour to make sure I'm fully warmed up. I'm going to take this guitar. Mostly because I think this will be the most appropriate instrument for the sort of music we're playing, which is that record. I actually, on the actual recording though, I actually used my Les Paul. But I don't want to take it tonight. This was the guitar that I did on the Refractions album. But I don't want to take it tonight. I find Les Paul's just, this thing weighs a ton. It's really heavy. Places recommendations in Wellington. Sure. I'm a real foodie. I love food. There's a place, it's not the most nicest thing at the moment because of the Wellington Town Hall renovations across the road. But there's a fusion place that it's called Apache. That's opposite the Wellington Town Hall, and it's their tagline is where Hanoi meets Paris. So it's like French meets Asian kind of crossover fusion type food. Sensational, always really good. If you want high end, Logan Brown is really good. If you want kind of in the middle, then Apache or Chow. I really like Chow. The again Asian fusion kind of stuff. The blue cheese wontons. I know it seems crazy. Blue cheese and wontons. Amazing. Red duck curry at Chow. Sensational. Really good. I think Monday nights they do 2-for-1s. Origami in Cuba Street is really good. There's a lot of really good food places. It depends what you want, really. You know what I mean? Do you want and how much you're willing to spend. Lots of good cafes. Unfortunately, Wellington's not a cheap city anymore. Mind you, where is? Any more questions? I'm going to have to split, folks, I'm afraid. Something about that sound. Every time I hear that, I just want to play. So these pickups are Mr. Glenn. That's actually his cruel mistress. Daniel says lessons. What's the question about lessons? Sorry. Oh yeah, I do Skype or Zoom if you want to do that, or if you're in Wellington, come and hook me up. Send me a message on my website. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Just nickgranville.com. It depends on where you're based as to what time we'll do. I tend to find for people in the US it can work better if it's late night here, early morning there, or vice versa. Same within the UK, but yeah, India can be, I've done a few of them in India, that can be a bit more of a mission, but we can always work it out. Oh you're blessed in Wellington. Awesome. Yeah, hit me up. I'm in Island Bay, so. If you're in Wellington, come to the gig tonight. Or to the jam. I'm hosting the jam session at the same venue, which starts at 11 o'clock tonight. So we play 7:30 in the basement, playing the Refractions album, and then 11 o'clock I'm hosting the jam session with my band. So come and play if you live in Wellington. Right, I'm gonna have to go. Thanks, folks. Really appreciate you being here. I just thought I'd jump on and do this. Yeah, it's cool. Take care.